Hey Mike, this is Gentleman from 402 Pitching Academy. First, I wanted to just thank you for your trust in us and thank you for giving us an opportunity to take a look at your mechanics and see what we can find, just to see what we can find and what we can help you with. So I know it takes a lot of trust and courage to just ask for feedback, and so I appreciate the opportunity to give you some feedback, and I appreciate the willingness to learn and improve, and I think that will serve you well. And I also appreciate, second of all, that you submitted quality videos. It makes it really easy for me to see your delivery and give you the best feedback possible. Just so you know, whenever I look at the delivery, I really like to look at how you gather energy from the ground, how do you gather energy early in the delivery, and then how do you transition that energy throughout your body and into your arm so that you can actually deliver the baseball as efficiently as possible and as accurately as possible. And so what we'll do is we'll go through your delivery here using our video analysis tools and using kind of the guidelines that we like to follow, or the certain things that we like to look for within the throw that I think maximizes efficiency and health and command and velocity. But the one thing that I want you to keep in mind is that, this is just one throw at one point in time, right? And mechanics are always changing a little bit here and there. And so, just understand that we don't necessarily have the full picture. Sometimes the reason that we throw the way that we do is because of things like fatigue or strength issues or mobility issues, right? And so there is a lot that we can gather from looking at video, but it doesn't always paint the complete picture. So just keep that in mind as we're going through and talking through some of these things. The last thing is that the delivery is a sequence of events, and how we look at release, which late in the delivery is going to be is greatly impacted by things that happen early in the delivery. So how we load our hips, how we start to move down the mound has a big impact on how we create separation, how we rotate, and how we transfer energy up our trunk and into our arms. So just keep all that in mind. I'll go through this analysis using our tools and using kind of our checklist, but a lot of times the throw is a result of things that happen early. Okay, so what should we start with? So let's start with, I'm just going to start by just playing through your delivery here at full speed. Okay, so when I look at the delivery, let's start with the back leg and the hips and how we load. So some things that I like to see, I'm referring back to the sheet that I have for you throughout this, but first thing I like to see is, do we have an appropriate amount of counter rotation? Do we load our hips proximally to distally? So do we start from the center of the body, and do we not over rotate as we lift our leg? Okay, so for you, I don't really notice over rotation in any way. But one thing that I do see is that we sit into our back leg as we're still lifting. And this kind of has some implications for later in the delivery. But you'll see that our knee and hips bend a little bit prematurely. I'd like to see us stay a little bit taller throughout the leg lift. And so because of the way that you sit early, so you'll see that we sit first and then we push down the mound. So how do I know that you're sitting and getting into our quad? So one thing that I like to look for is, does the butt sit behind the heel, and does the back knee creep past the back toes significantly, right? So for you, as you're lifting, you'll see that your back knee pretty quickly goes past your back toes and your butt sits straight down. Okay, and what happens when we do this is we start to load into our quad. The weight shifts to the ball of your back foot, and from here, a lot of times what happens is it sends our direction down the mound. It basically just gives us poor direction down the mound. So what I mean by that is, at this point in the delivery, you'll notice that your lower half is taking you this way, right? So we get to the toe, we get into our quad, and we sit and push, and we sit and extend that back leg, and you'll see that your lower half is really taking you to kind of towards these guys that are hanging out, behind the cage. And so what happens is we need to remember that our whole goal here is to throw it to the catcher, right? So we're trying to hit this second blue dot. I'll change it to red for you so that way we're all on the same page. But we're trying to hit this red dot, right? But the problem is our lower half is kind of following this yellow line and our body's taking us this direction. So what has to happen? Well, when that front foot gets into the ground, you'll see that your trunk is starting to open up early, right? So we're not creating much necessarily separation. Our glove side is opening early. Our trunk is opening early. Our chest is starting to point towards home. And so at this point, you probably have heard before, like, oh, you're flying open with your glove side. And you are flying open with your glove side. And I think it's leading to a lot of arm side sails and glove side yanks for you. But I think what's really important is to understand why our glove side's flying open. It has to do with our lower half direction. So early in the delivery, we're sitting down, straight down, rather than sitting back. And so just to show you this again, knees creeping past the back toes, butt sitting straight down. That's taking our lower half on a trajectory that's going this way. And then because our lower half is going that direction, the glove side now has to fly open early. The arm's going to be a little bit later, or it's going to throw off our sequencing and our timing. And then we have to redirect ourselves towards home. Glove side flies open. We lose things like hip-shoulder separation. Our trunk leaks forward at front foot strike and leaks open. So you'll see that as we get into the ground, right, my chest is already starting to open up. My trunk is leaning forward, right? And so now the arm has to take on the rest of the kind of the bulk of the rest of the throw. And it's impacting both your velocity and your command. Now, other things that we like to look at, and again, that's just, how you load your hips. And I know we kind of jumped around a lot there, but, as your front foot gets in the ground, some other things that I like to see are, does our knee continue to track forward after that front foot sticks? Okay, for the most part, it's stopping your forward momentum. So not much of an issue there. Now, it does look like you kind of get stuck behind your lead leg just a little bit, and you kind of vault up and over it, right? And it looks like we kind of extend our back knee or our front knee after release, where we would like to see maybe the timing of that be just a little bit earlier. And I think some of that has to do with the fact that because we sit straight down and then push out, right? So the reason I know that we push is because as we kind of get to this point where, and I know I'm kind of backtracking here just a little bit, but as I get to kind of the ball of my back foot and knees creep past the back toes, you'll see that your pelvis starts to flatten out, and we start to create kind of a disconnect between our upper body and our pelvis. So our pelvis is flat, upper body's step back, right? Pelvis is flat, upper body's back. And so now the lead leg has to really swing open in order to propel you forward. Okay, we're not really getting any engagement out of our back leg anymore. And so the lead leg kind of has to swing open. Again, the lead leg also has to swing open more because our lower half direction, remember, is taking us this way. So the lead leg's got to compensate by swinging open more. The pelvis flattens out. There's kind of a big disconnect between our upper body and our lower body. And so now we're not rotating as efficiently. And our lead leg now, because our trunk is so far forward and our arm has to take on the rest of the bulk of the throw from here, we don't really have time to create a quality lead leg block, if you will, right? And that lead leg doesn't necessarily have to straighten out, right? Some guys it does, some guys it doesn't. For you, as long as it's not moving forward, that's the main thing. And I still think for you, the main bulk of your focus needs to be, at least to start, on getting your butt to sit back as you start to move laterally down the mound, not letting the weight shift to the ball of your back foot, and then riding, this position that you're in here towards home. Okay, so That's be where I start. The other things, in terms of arm action, for the most part, arm action isn't a major concern of mine. The things I like to see is as that front foot gets in the ground, is the arm up at 90 degrees? So kind of like if you're going to arm wrestle somebody, you'd want your arm at 90. That's the position that we're looking for, within 10 degrees on each side. So we're anywhere from 80 to 100. Okay, you're not necessarily in a bad position there. Same thing going this direction. Your arm might be just a touch low. Some of that too is just from the angle that we're looking at, right? Because your trunk is tilted back a little bit, it makes the arm look just a little bit lower. And for where you're at, it's nothing's egregious enough to where I would really worry about things with the arm action. I think for you, the biggest bang for your buck is going to be by just learning how to load our hips, not sitting into our or getting into our quad too early, getting our hips to sit back or hinge back just a little bit better. So getting more butt behind heel, and then if we can learn how to ride that position better towards home, I think it will improve your direction, and then I think it'll clean up a lot of things like lead leg block or how your lead leg works, arm action, glove side. I think a lot of that's just a result of things that are happening early. So in your email, what I'll do is I'll send some drills that I think you could try to help with this. And I know this was kind of long and there's a lot going on there. So if you have any questions, just send me an email and I can follow up and clarify if you have it. But again, I hope you found this helpful. Let me know if you have any questions, and good luck.